And thus begins the Jeju Island raid. It's finally begun, and they've already killed off a waifu. Of all the characters they can kill, all these dudes out there, they had to kill the waifu. Now, granted, technically she is an S-rank healer, and as we mentioned before, technically the bugs like to kill the healers first, and so she was probably already spotted by the monster, went right after her, but I'm calling it now. I think the queen's already dead. They went down there into the lair, and the queen's not there. It doesn't seem like they're sensing where she's at. I think that new bug killed the queen. I think there's probably an element of the insects themselves, again, obviously evolving over time, and it probably felt with the desire to evolve to save the colony because there's no food there and whatnot, it probably deemed that all the other ants probably are inefficient and decide to kill off the queen and just move on. That's what I'm sort of leaning towards. I don't know how that affects the idea of a broken gate. I think the idea of the broken gate would just be that they're in our world, not necessarily that they fall into the conventions of, you know, a core boss or whatever that destroys the entire thread or whatever, because they're implying the idea of killing the queen and then getting the hell off the island, let the rest of the monsters just kind of die away. So we'll see. But yes, looking at my notes, we have a lot of skip content, so we should just jump right into it. Episode 22 of Soul Leveling. Kicking things off with the initial duel they set up from the previous episode. Kind of went how I expected, you know, pretty much this really high tier S rank guild from Japan. Probably going to wipe the floor with these individuals. I was hoping that at least Baek and Ma would do decently well. At least Baek would do well, but apparently he gets taken out as well. Some things to note in this whole duel that didn't really get into details in the actual anime adaptation is specifically Baek versus Kumamoto. And Kumamoto, initially when Baek goes to fight him, he gets a murderous intent. As Baek is attacking him, suddenly, you know, Kumamoto appears behind him and he feels murderous intent from him. He knows something's bad about this dude. Like, there's something off about this dude. But despite that, despite having that murderous intent, he doesn't follow through with it. And Baek picks up on this. And he figures that, yeah, they're probably trying to test this guy out, see if he has what it takes to go out there. Obviously, what we kind of see later on with Shaw hitting him, it does seem like this guy has an interesting quirk. Once he gets angry, he becomes a different person and loses all rational thinking. He never remembers anything after the fight is done. They say that he's bad for a striker squad, never knowing if he'll attack one of his teammates. He's capable of clearing a B rank gate by himself. But since the fact that he can't really work with a group to clear an A rank, there's no point even him being an S rank. So there's some choice words from his fellow guild members, and the idea that this guy shouldn't even be an S rank. Like, he's really powerful, but he's kind of useless because he seemingly can't control himself. So he seems to be like a berserker. The moment that he gets mad, he just goes crazy, and he's super powerful at that point, but up until that point, again, like right here with him dueling Baek, he's not doing anything because he's too cowardice. Other than that, yes, we get to see Cha in action. Finally get to see S-rank sniffer Cha doing something besides sniffing. Specifically, they point out that she is a dancer, or they call her a dancer. The one that's fighting her claims that they gave her the title of the dancer because she swiftly goes from killing one monster to another, and it's almost like she's dancing. But apparently Cha banned the name because it was too embarrassing. But it technically makes sense. The way that she kind of moves looks very graceful, very melee-based. I thought that she required a weapon, because, I mean, it gave a sense of that when she went into the gate after Song. I assumed the reason that she was looking for a weapon is because she needed one. But here it kind of looks like she doesn't really need it. But yeah, she quickly takes out the girl, goes to help out Baek. Again, Kumamoto comes up behind her. She reflexively strikes him like 14 times, like in an instant, and makes him go angry. And that's when, of course, Sung comes in and saves Cha, because Doki Doki, Sung's gotta save Cha. Overall, I think the duel right here wasn't that big of a deal. Again, getting a little insight into Kumamoto, which I'm hoping will actually turn into something interesting later on, was okay. It's more of kind of give a sense of characters like Cha and whatnot, see what she's capable of. But overall, the fight was okay. Again, I was really bummed out not to see Baek at least kind of flex a bit here. I think it's more interesting in Baek's character, though, because right here we're seeing like sort of the ceiling of his character. And since there's so much content around Baek's character, observing Sung and seeing how he's evolving, it might actually turn something interesting if it does get into the element of sort of meeting that ceiling. Everybody else, all the other hunters, have acknowledged that when they get awakened, that's their power. They can skill themselves up by, making themselves smarter, knowing techniques and whatnot, but overall their power it has a ceiling. And so to see Sung is continuously growing, while here he just got his face, rubbed in the mud, it makes you kind of question if that'll be a core element of his story. But yes, that's when Goto Ryuji decides to challenge Sung because, yeah, no mage could stop that fight. There's something going on with Sung. Yeah, definitely a lot in Goto's character right here. He really badly wants to he wants to expose Sung. He knows for a fact Sung is not a mage. He's got to be something else, and he's trying to pull that out of him. And so he feels like this duel might actually do that. I like the fact that this entire time, he's just getting ready to fight Sung, and Sung's over there just kind of like smiling, like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And he's like, why is this dude smiling in my presence? Anybody else would be terrified of this. Again, right here, they do acknowledge that Shimizu is an S-rank healer, and that if anything happens between the two of them, she'll be able to take care of it. At which point, he decides to tell Sung that he's going to be the one that's going to need it. Not that Sung knows the hell he's saying, because again, he speaks Japanese. They kind of made it evident in the anime and the idea that even though Ryuji is technically speaking Japanese and Sung should be speaking Korean, he speaks in Japanese and Sung's just like, I don't understand what you're saying, but you want to continue the fight, right? So let's keep fighting. There's a certain point in which an adaptation like this or something that's fully translated just gets completely lost with that translation. But no, an interesting note here, of course, Shaw's like, hey, do you think we should be stopping this? And he's like, yeah, normally whenever a fighter and a mage go to head-to-head, they usually like to stop it. It's kind of similar to Go, how he said beforehand, before that previous duel, he set the rule that no mages were going to get involved. They don't want mages and fighters going melee. I'm guessing that's because, obviously, mages typically need to be in the back line, and fighters can easily shred through them. They have probably less defense. But Baek is noting here that, yeah, you're just like me. You know that he has potential. In Baek's mind, he's actually thinking there's a possibility that he could see Sung get even stronger. He thinks by Sung fighting Goto, he might actually get stronger. He might evolve even more. Again, Baek this entire time is really stuck on the fact that Sung is an evolving hunter. He's not just reawakened, he's actually getting stronger. One very interesting thing during this fight, of course, Sung's like just pretty much testing his strength, all that kind of stuff, getting him to attack him and dodging it, whatnot. Eventually, yes, Ryuji gets really angry. Goto Ryuji gets really angry and decides to, okay, I'm done trying to expose you. I'm just going to kill you. I'm just going to eliminate you. Like, he's getting so ticked off that Sung's just kind of dancing around and smiling at him. He just decides at some point, I'm just going to kill him, which is pretty crazy thought process there. But this is the funny part, because in the manhwa, Sung gets a notification. He gets a notification just like he did with Dong-suk. When they was in the raid, he got a notification that there was murderous intent there. So Sung, I guess jokingly, I'm not really quite sure from the manhwa's perspective, jokingly thinks about the fact that, oh man, I might end up getting a quest like I did before. Which, yes, for those that don't remember, when Dong-suk attacked him, was going to kill him in that dungeon, he got that murderous intent notification, and then he got a quest to kill the people that were trying to kill him. So he had to kill them in order to finish the quest. And so he almost thought that he was going to have to do that with Ryuji. But anyways, yes, they go all out. They go to attack each other, and then everybody stops them because, yeah, you guys are probably going to destroy half the city, plus the fact that, as it kind of notes more in the manhwa, Cha and them are telling Sung, dude, look, he's going to be leading the raid tomorrow or in the next couple days, so we kind of need him alive, so you probably shouldn't kill him. But yeah, here's the interesting thing, because after this fight ends, after the duel ends, in the manhwa, Ma decides to try to recruit Sung. He's like, we don't have many fighters in our guild. We would love to have you in our guild. And then over on the side, Choi's like, hey, he's not actually a fighter. He's a mage. It was kind of funny. But no, Sung says that, yeah, he got to get a gauge on everybody, and he was able to implant his soldiers inside of their shadows. And specifically in the manhwa, he notes that nobody noticed it. Despite the fact that everybody's S rank, nobody has noticed it. But it cuts over to Goto, and he's shook. At that point, he is shook. Now, at first, I thought it was because Sung just got done saying, basically, I put all these soldiers inside of everybody's shadows, and nobody noticed my soldier army. So I'm wondering if it possibly Goto was shook up because he was about to face off against Sung and realize how powerful he was, or if at some point after that, he realized not only was I facing off against this guy that was standing toe-to-toe with me, but then he finally noticed the army in his shadow. And so he's like, wait, so he has an army behind him too? Not only just that? Because yes, we do have a brief moment later on in the manhwa where just before they go out to the island, Goto's still shook. He wonders if he felt death at that moment. And he's realized that he's becoming overly sensitive because of his experience fighting Sung. So I hope that doesn't end up causing some problems later on. But yeah, after this, we get pretty much a bunch of raid prep. Everybody's getting the list of all the S ranks going there. Again, Goto's feeling like he just felt death. Baek's over there. He's still pretty much surprised that there's an existence of a hunter that can evolve. And he's realizing at this point that it's a waste of time trying to recruit Sung. He's like, how much would a hunter that continues to evolve, how much do they cost? But he realized at this point it's pointless to try to recruit Sung. So there's other ways in order to kind of build a relationship with him. So I think Baek right here is kind of deciding, I'm just going to try to get buddy-buddy with him, basically. And I think you kind of get a sense of that over the last couple scenes, really. Odd change that the anime made right here. Baek looks at the list, realized that Sung's not in the list, and also realized that Bonggu is not in the list. Bonggu, it was in the list in the manhwa at this point. I'm not sure why the anime decided to change it. We know why they changed it. They want us to all be shocked when Bonggu walks up to the helicopter at the last second. No, he was already a part of it way back here. This wasn't a secret at this point. And yeah, we get to see that Johei is joining the Censure group at least. That was a kind of a pleasant surprise, seeing her at home and realizing that we all got to do our part, and she decides to call him up and at least be a part of the defense. They later on in the manhwa point out that like 5,000 of the total 50,000 awakened hunters were joining in at least to be sentries, people to actually guard the mainland in case something comes over the ocean, which does technically kind of build up this element of kind of being frustrated with Sung in this whole scenario because he's not wanting to be a part of the raid. I mean, we'll get into it in a minute here. It does sort of get in some skip content here of why he stays behind. Again, obviously his mother, but it does kind of make you frustrated in the idea that everybody's realizing how big of a threat this is, but he's like, shrug, they got it. Again, he technically did get a good read of everybody in that duel, in that whole scenario there. He did kind of get a sense of how powerful everybody is, but there's still like an element of failure is not an option, and they're sending their best to go there. It would be better to kind of go with them, even if it's going to be easy, even if they handle it. Still, like, you kind of want to help them out to ensure that it happens. Otherwise, if they fail, like they point out, South Korea is gone. They're pointing out the mainland is gone. This place is toast. But yeah, that's when we get technically skipped content, but technically previous episode stuff, but not fully fleshed out, which is, yes, Sung does bring mom home at this point in the story. This is why he doesn't join the raid. It's because his mom just got discharged and he brings her home to, yes, the clean the house scene. But it was interesting in the manhwa, it does get into a little more details here about the relationship with the family and the father. And the idea that the mother asks if he's heard news about his father yet. I think in the anime, it kind of pointed out, you know, did you get a call from dad yet? And Sung says no. But then Sung starts thinking to himself, what would she say if I told her that I followed in father's footsteps and became a hunter? Which, yes, in the anime, it has her say, I heard that you became a hunter on the news. She technically didn't say that. Apparently, the reason why they're in this apartment is because their mother doesn't want to leave it behind. She wants to stay there in hopes that their father returns, and so she doesn't want to let the apartment go. That's why they've been there pretty much their entire life, and that's why, as he points out, even though I've made literally a boatload of money, like I've made more money in the recent time than most people ever see in their entire lifetime, we're still remaining here. We're still paying rent on this old apartment, which honestly to me is actually a really nice apartment, so let's be honest. It points out that the father went missing years ago and that the mother's still waiting for him and hoping that he'll come back one day. And that's, again, why he decides to not go on the raid, is because he feels like his mother needs him. Again, similar to what the anime kind of portrayed in the previous episode, but I felt like it gives a little more context as to why they're still there. But yeah, cutting forward, we have the news reports. They're all saying that everybody's getting ready and that all these people are coming out of retirement in order to defend the mainland. And yes, a lot of people pointing out the fact that the newly appointed S-rank hunter, Sung, is not on the list of the people going on the raid. And Sung's like checking comments online and everybody's posting hate comments about him, about how like, wow, he probably pissed his pants after becoming S-rank and ran away. Even Bongyu came out of retirement, but this new guy, this new S-rank is not going. What the hell's wrong with him? And Sung's like, I don't really care about the hate comments, but whatever. I just want to make sure that Yo's okay. And that's why we get like 2 full scenes of skip content in the manhwa. First, Sung decides to go check on Yo, make sure he's okay because of all the hate comments that are coming in. And yes, technically Yo is sort of affiliated with Sung because they're making a guild together, which Yo invites him to see their new guild office. Yes, Yo has gone out of his way to go get a new office. It's big. Right here, they kind of establish some aspects of making a guild, which is the fact that you need 3 individuals. You need a guild master, a vice guild master, and a single employee, which, yes, obviously, Sung would be the guild master, Yo would be the vice guild master, and they just... Sung being Sung, he's like, I'll just find somebody to fit, just to fill in the heads, which will probably be Han because she's already part of the harem. But additionally, Yo has a business card and has it to Sung, said that there's a foreigner looking for you, said that they're going to be here for a while and to give him a call. Now, I kind of pondered what this could be. A foreigner that's in South Korea right now and is about to leave and is trying to get a hold of Sung. Initially, my brain immediately went to the All Might guy, the American dude that popped in for a brief moment, but he's already gone. Like they skipped a scene, but literally as Goto was coming into the country, he sensed him as he was leaving. So I think he's already out of the country. The only other person I can think of is going to be Hwang, but I don't see Hwang just showing up and saying, hey, Yo, tell Sung I need to find him. It could be, but Sung didn't really react to the guy, and I think that he probably would. So I don't know. I don't know what other foreigner would be in the area that would be looking for him. Being that this is after they got the notification that Sung wasn't going to be in the raid, it could have been Ryuji Goto is looking for him and just doesn't know how to get in contact with him. I don't know. I was kind of questioning who that could possibly be. But yeah, they sort of fake it out like it is Hwang, because the moment that Sung gets the business card from Yo, he immediately starts getting this aura about him. But in actuality, one of his shadow sentries is in town and notices that somebody's being attacked by somebody. And so he's actually responding to that. Which, yes, we finally get to see the fruits of his vigilante experiences. One of his shadows has caught this guy attacking a girl, and so he does a shadow swap with it to transport to where this guy is attacking this lady in the town, which is sort of interesting to Sung's character right here because he replaces the shadow and there's a guy there threatening a woman with a knife. And as she's just crying her eyes out, the guy's like, man, I love this neighborhood. And then Sung's like, yeah, I do too. But the guy turns to Sung and Sung asks him why he does what he does. And the guy's like, well, do I need a reason? It's because it's fun. When I set my eyes on something that is weaker than me, I get the urge to harass them. And so Sung beats him down and says, yeah, I can relate in a way. But once you get a taste, though, returning to normal life isn't easy. So it's kind of adding to, I guess, Sung's descent into madness and the idea that he's fought so much, he's taken lives at this point of humans, and thus he's getting that sense that he's crossed that line that he can't really return from. Which, like I've said before, I don't really feel like the story has really done a good job of kind of cementing that into his character, but it does seem like that's the direction that it's trying to go. So I guess there is a sense here that the more and more they kind of get into this, it can cement it in my mind. They just need to kind of, I guess, keep a consistency there, rather than right now it sort of kind of jumps back and forth trying to expose us to the fact that Sung has crossed the line and then goes back to being his normal self. But no, what's funny is that after he beats the guy down, he implants a high orc shadow soldier inside the guy's shadow and tells the guy to turn himself in before midnight, otherwise he's dead. So he's like, I don't know if this orc's going to wait that long, but that's the idea there, is that if the guy doesn't go to the police office and turn himself in, this orc's going to jump out of his shadow and kill him. So yeah, get a little sense of Sung's little vigilante experiences. But yeah, that's when everything launches for the raid itself. The queen's over there. She's decided to try to evolve once again because they're running out of food sources. And so a new child is finally born. Again, I'm really feeling like after this thing was born, it probably killed the queen. But we'll see. But yeah, we get to see everybody kind of getting prepped up. Some interesting things here, especially with the Fame Guild. Ma kind of... I'm sorry, that looked like a flag. that whole scene with Ma looked like a flag. He's literally telling his vice guildmaster how much they mean to them and how they've helped the guild grow so much because he's terrible at management. So couldn't have done it without him. And then suddenly goes to leave. I'm like, I think Ma's dead. I think that was such a flag scene. I'm sorry. We get to see the Hunters Guild, which was great because I got to see Bug Girl again. Bug Girl pops up for a brief second. Ming Sung's there trying to get in front of cameras as always. And our main team goes flying in. It was very interesting to see the photographer there that, yeah, there's some people that don't become hunters even though they've awakened and they'll do other professions. And Apparently this guy is an A rank that has actually become a reporter that apparently goes in the areas that have breaks. I got a massive kick out of it because the guy's like all shaking. Like he's like, I don't know if my experience will be enough or whatever. And he goes to like touch his sword and it kind of shows that he's shaking a little bit. I was at Ma or whatever. It's like, don't worry, they wouldn't be putting together this fourth raid if it weren't for the fact they knew it was going to be successful. So you can take heart. And it's like, okay, did you realize what you just said? You said they wouldn't start the fourth unless they knew it would work. So that that implies the second time they didn't think it was going to work, and the third time they didn't think it was going to work, but this time they damn sure. This time they got it under control. Don't worry, the fourth one's going to make it, right? Fourth time's a charm. I thought that was a little funny. But yes, they start the raid. Goto and his team, they release their auras. They go flying in. Choi being awesome, just toasting everything. You really do get a sense that Choi was planning for this, though, because it seems like every action that Choi is taking is very calculated. Like, okay, I know that we're going to fly in here. We're going to get attacked. He knows exactly what kind of spell he's going to use. They kind of give the sense like he wasn't ready for the swarm to overtake his first strike. But in the manhwa, it does feel like, oh yeah, I kind of predicted that. Here's my next attack. Get ready. Like, he knows what he's doing. He gets down inside the crater. He knows immediately to put the cover on it. Sends all the fireballs down each one of the holes just to find out which one's the deepest. Again, I really got a sense that Choi was ready for this. And it makes sense. This dude has been, ever since the last failure, he's been constantly thinking about doing this. This guy's probably been kind of exercising it in his brain several times a day. I mean, literally every single scene that we get of Choi, he's thinking about the Jeju raid. Literally every scene we see of him, he's thinking about that. I'm surprised that he didn't put more effort into bringing Sung into the equation. One thing they note in the manhwa is that as they're killing the ants, they realize that some of the ants, at least in this segment, have deteriorated eyes, seeming like they evolved for the sake of just guarding the dark tunnels. But yeah, they eventually get to all the eggs. Choi goes to try to burn all the eggs, and they stop him because there's a massive egg there. Before they cut over to, again, the new healer waifu that just gets taken out in one freaking hit. Girl is like, hey, can you give me something? She's like, hey, Kenzo, I don't want no money from you, but can you give me something else? Like, damn, girl. And then just bye head. I'm mad. It's expected, though. I kind of expected when we got to the Jeju Island raid, they were probably going to lose a lot of people. And I really do feel at this point, again, I think the queen's dead. I think they're going to realize that very quickly and try to get back to the surface. But I think before they get to the surface, I think literally everybody on the Japanese side is probably toast. I think they're just going to get knocked out one by one. And I think it's going to probably come down to Ryuji Goto. Now, the question mark that I really have is what Sung's going to do. I think Sung is going to realize that they're not doing well because, again, he has shadows underneath every single one of them, or at least certain individuals. But I don't remember if specifically Shimizu or the other two with her have one of the soldiers in their shadows. I think they were specifically pointing out, like, Ryuji Goto and, like, Baek and Sha. So I'm assuming that, yes, eventually his shadow is going to tell him that something happened, but I don't think it's going to be quite yet. I think it's probably going to be the moment that the bug finally goes and attacks Ryuji Goto before he finally realizes that, oh, they ain't doing good. Or he's probably going to realize, oh, it's going up, something tough is going up against Ryuji Goto. He'll handle it, and I think he's probably going to die, and that's when Sung's going to realize, okay, something's bad. Something bad happening. Maybe now I need to get involved, and then he's probably going to do his little shadow replacement to go over there. Now, it's funny because I was like, oh, that's right. He just used shadow replacement to take out that bad guy at night. But that thing's like a 3-hour cooldown, so he could have it up again. But I guess the question mark could be how far distance can it actually go? Because technically, every time when he got out of the dungeon, that's a hella far away. Like, he teleported from the highest floor of the demon castle all the way outside to his neighborhood. So I don't think distance is a problem. Again, I think that Goto is probably going to either be dead or close to death, and I think he's probably going to teleport back. I'm just curious if Choi and the rest of them will get to the surface before then. But anywho, I'm interested to see where it goes from here, but that's, I think that's everything. Again, a lot of stuff to go over that was skipped. I do find it interesting reading the manhwa alongside the anime and getting little moments like this. Having a brief moment of actually seeing Sung sort of relate to somebody that was possibly a murderer does make you kind of get a little more into his descent into madness, so... Well, it's technically the way that he says that. The way that he says, once you get a taste of it, though, returning to normal life isn't easy. I think this guy was specifically saying he has the urge to harass them. He gets cut off, but I think he says harass them. So he's just kind of threatening people. It doesn't necessarily give a sense this guy has taken a life, whereas Sung has. And so he's like, yeah, that's a bad line to cross, essentially. But again, it kind of gives a sense of, Sung's character and his descent into madness, which I kind of think the story needs. It needs more of that. So it's like one of those aspects where I think even the manhwa doesn't do it enough. And so to have the anime cut some of that stuff does sort of concern me as to seeing that descent. But that's just my take on it. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know if you like the episode. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. But until next time, y'all take care.